Hello and welcome to another edition of Pulp Picks. My name is Patrick.
I'm Fritz.
And we're here to give you this week's reading recommendations on New Comic Book Day. And I think every single one of these books is returning.
Yep.
Yes. So let's jump in. And what did you pick this week, Fritz?
Yeah, so I picked Ultimate X-Men number 2. The Ultimate line's still going strong. So with this issue, so we kind of got into this last time with issue 1. It's of all of the 3 new Ultimate series that are going on, Ultimate X-Men is very much the most outlier in terms of if you didn't sometimes know this was supposed to be an X-Men comic, I wouldn't fault you for that because it's taking a very different approach. Peach Momoko, the writer and artist, has been very upfront about Marvel's basically just kind of do whatever you want with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously it still connects into some of the other stuff going on with the Marvel universe. In this issue, we meet Mae Storm, who is clearly, once you get into her more, a bit inspired by Storm, who's shown up in Black Panther. But it's also it's doing its own thing. It's kind of telling its own story that you don't need to be concerned about what's happening in the other books to really get. Speaking of Mae Storm, I love her. She's got such a different personality to Armor in here because with her, she's just discovering her power. She's very unsure of what this all means. She's trying.
Armor, you mean?
Yeah, Armor. She's still trying to figure out what's going on with this weird shadow thing that's seeming to heal people related to an old friend of hers. And then there's Mae Storm, who's just super peppy. Oh, you want me to follow you into this abandoned school to investigate a murder plot? Sure, let's do it.
We just met, but cool.
Yeah, no, it's great. I already their friendship, and you can see it already kind of find out breaking through Armor's armor. She's already kind of warming up. It's oh, having friends is good. I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. The art is fantastic. I love how much of a horror vibe this is going for because that's also something a lot of these books are Ultimate Spider-Man is kind of it's got his twists and turns. It's still very much a very traditional superhero book. Ultimate Black Panther has a lot of it's kind of political intrigue and there's different groups in Wakanda that are fighting against each other, and then there's the whole war against the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this is just there's creepy body horror stuff, people turning into bugs and things, and it's fantastic. We were talking about this before. It's definitely of the books kind of taking the most slow burn approach in terms of setting things up. We do know just from some of the stuff they put out recently that there are a bunch more fan favorite characters that are going to be showing up soon. Won't name names, so all I'll say is that people will definitely be happy. I know there's a couple of our regulars that they'll be excited to see them show up kind of thing.
Yeah, and it is it's taking its time because it feels like an individual character book so far.
Mm-hmm.
But don't worry, they'll get there, so be patient.
Yeah.
It is going to end up being a team book.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those books where it'll reward the reader for seeing how all the different dots start to connect to each other and how they're building to what will actually be the X-Men probably. Also, I just as a little design thing, I'm pretty sure I know what the villain of this arc is supposed to be in terms of who this ultimate version of the character is.
Yeah.
Partially based off of one of the appearances of who they might actually be. It's just oh, I get it. They're playing on this element of the design that I really like.
Yeah, I think I'm there too.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. I love just seeing the way they mix and match these different elements of the 616 Marvel universe for this new Ultimate universe.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun. And yes, the art is beautiful.
Oh, also speaking of Ultimate stuff, the new actual Ultimates ongoing is coming this summer. So definitely get signed up for that if you want. I'm super excited. Of all the books, it might actually be the one I'm looking forward to the most.
It's going to be very interesting to see the characters portrayed on the back art. So, yes, excellent.
But speaking of, kind of in a lot of ways an opposite Marvel title, yours is a very fun one and done.
Yeah, so I went with, what was the issue number? 19. Fantastic Four number 19. And I know that we've picked a number of Fantastic Four issues in this new volume. And we've mentioned before that they are very episodic. So you're getting kind of an individual Not that there aren't, running themes and whatever, but there's so many standalone single issue stories. And, that's kind of an old school comic book style of storytelling. And it's been really fun. This one, you're just dropped into a noir private detective office. And, Sue Storm is the troubled gal who walks in and is too smart and too well connected to really have problems. So if she's walking into a PI's office, there must be some real problems. And so it turns out that her fiance Reed Richards is missing, and 30s 40s detective plot continues from there. And I love those movies, the Sam Spade movies, like.
Well, it's like you talked about, one of your prior picks was issue 1 of the First Night series, and that's one of the things you loved with that is this kind of like older noir kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, and it's when it's done with the storytelling style and not just the look. When they do both together really well, it's just super fun. And it's Carlos Gomez on the art on this, right? It looks so cool in black and white. And I don't know if anybody ever read, if any of the viewers watch or read Black Magic, but it does a similar type of thing where, it's all silver toned and then they throw in a splash of color here and a splash of color there. And oh my God, does it work with the art style of Gomez. It just looks amazing. So even if you're just looking at picking up a single issue, maybe you're comic curious or you've been out of comics for a while and you want to pick up a single issue that it's just a story in a book, this is a really good series, honestly, that you could pick up. When did they get past that initial arc where it was kind of, I guess you had kind of through the dinosaur doom, you had kind of the stories kind of flowing, continuing from one issue to the next, and then kind of since then?
I mean, they've all been kind of like standalone, but like those first couple arcs, like there's a bit more like one to the next kind of thing, but all these recent issues have just been like really fun one and dones.
Yeah, and it really was. It was just super fun. And the other thing that gets me in all of these is the teaser at the end of each one, because we see Ben Grimm as apparently a checkout guy at a grocery store. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's super fun. But yeah, I thought it was just a blast. And it's a fun, nuanced take on kind of older storytelling in two different ways. Older comic book storytelling and then, the film noir kind of storytelling. So, yeah, it was just kind of a throwback fun book. Now, reigning champion, probably.
Yeah.
Right?
Also, speaking of kind of being like a sort of a throwback fun book, Transformers #7, start of the new arc, start of the new artist on here, which I feel like we got to talk about that right off the bat. Like, Jorge Corona just like absolutely killing it right off the bat.
So it would make perfect sense for everybody to have been nervous about who was going to take over after Daniel Warren Johnson, because high expectations going in for him on this book, and he absolutely surpassed them. It was amazing, and it's definitely one of the best-selling books in comics right now.
But like just from like the opening like fight scene on Cybertron to like the fist fight in the volcano, even just like the more like quieter character moments on the arc and stuff, it's just like everything like nailing it right at go.
Couldn't have done better. And coming in after DWJ, that is really saying something. I mean, that's extremely high praise. And they talk about it in the new editor at the back of the book, and then in the notes at the back talks about just how amazed they all were with the art on this. And, when they get that right blend of nostalgia and action, we were talking about how hard it is to really capture super dynamic action in still images, and just crushed it. Also, somebody goes super dark in this issue. Scary dark.
There's a couple pretty dark scenes, and like that's one of the things I've enjoyed about this series. And to be fair, you can say this about a lot of Transformers media. Realize like they're not like. Obviously, there's characters that you can always feel like pretty comfortable about, like nothing too bad happening to, but also at the same time, like, don't expect everyone to make it out unscathed. Like,
yes,
like literally the amount of like characters that like take a beating in this I were not expecting to take a beating in this issue was a lot of them, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. So we see some new familiar faces.
Mm-hmm.
There are Transformers that definitely die in this issue.
Yep.
Something horrible happened to somebody. I've got a guess as to who it is.
Yeah.
I had that guess, and then I felt like it was confirmed later.
Yeah,
in the issue.
yeah.
And that's a story arc that they've done with that particular character before, so we're kind of doing a new twist on it, if I'm correct in who that is. There's a challenge to Starscream's leadership. Prime is trying to figure out how to move forward after all of the traumatic events of the first arc, the first 6 issues.
There's a real fun wrinkle thrown into that like at first is like, oh, what? And then she's like, no, it makes sense. Like, what's happening there?
I think that's going to be super cool.
It's going to be so weird. I love it.
Yeah. Well, they're just coming up with so many great ideas where, you're able to use the basic structure of Transformers, leaning heavily on G1, but, a lot of the kind of basic story elements, and then fleshing them out in a way that just makes them so much cooler. And more dynamic.
I love there's just like this, like Jazz is only in here for like a scene, and he just gets this really like nice exchange with Cliff Jumper, and it's great.
You know why he's Prime's number 2,
and why he's your number 1.
Yay! yeah. Might have bought the Jazz variant last issue, and I'm not a variant guy, so that'll tell you something. But yeah, this book is just fantastic, and we should also mention that the colors in this book have just been completely spot on. I mean, you know exactly who each Transformer is when sometimes they're this big, or you're seeing them from over their shoulder or something, and you're like, that's Puffer. It's been great.
Like Warpath shows up in this. Who had money on Warpath showing up in a Transformers comic?
Yeah,
honestly.
It was great. And it turns out robots hold a grudge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also very true.
Yeah. So I'm going to be very interested to see where that goes. And again, I think that sets up another classic Transformers story arc. Or, kind of the basis for it. But it's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. And then, who was it that they used to partially repair Teletran 1? We learned a little bit more.
Skywarp?
Skywarp. Yeah. We learned a little bit more about that. And it kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies.
Which I'm so happy the way they're like handling that, because it's just like when he got like absolutely decimated a couple of issues back, I was just like I was talking about, like, people aren't safe, but just like, man, I was enjoying him. I hope he's not like gone. And then like the way they kind of like resolved that in this issue is just like, oh, that's great. I love it.
Yeah. So, and then there's kind of a sneak peek at the end. And once we get off camera, I'm going to have to ask you what you think that final panel was leading us to. There's kind of
there's a tease on something.
There's a tease on some new characters showing up. And they're doing such a good job of using the narrative to cleanly explain why they're taking their time building the character base, really, because they could have thrown 1,000 Transformers at us right away and had them running around in the book, and their heads would have been spinning. And they're not doing that. It's a slow build so that you can get time with each character, and that's awesome. And the plot device that they use for that is really well thought. So, well, it was another amazing week. We were kind of thinking it was a light week, but it's really not. Corey told me that I'm not supposed to talk at the wall, so I got to talk directly to the camera. So be sure to come in. There's something for everybody. I think that's kind of one of the misconceptions about comic books, is that they're all about superheroes or they're all about robots and that kind of stuff. And there's not. I mean, there's so many good horror books, mystery books, suspense books. There's even some romance books and stuff like that.
Penultimate issue of Beneath the Trees almost made up here, because it was good, and that whole series has been good. And if you've been sleeping on it, you're wrong. But
and we're pulling up rapidly on graphic novel release for that for the first volume. So. If you did miss out on all of it, I know that we've got a number of back issues because they did so many reprintings for it. But you'd be able to get the collected volume as well pretty soon. Same thing with Transformers. You can hop on that wagon too via graphic novel, and you can subscribe to graphic novels too. You don't have to subscribe to just the periodicals.
We had a guy just yesterday get subscribed for the current Avengers run for it.
Yep. Yep, which has also been very good.
Mhm.
So, well, we will be back next week. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe. Check us out on social media. Check out our website. If you stop into the store here and set up a rewards account, not only do you earn future discounts on
Mhm.
purchases, but it also sets up your online account. And from that, you can actually add titles to your subscriptions
Mhm.
on the app. It's super cool. And you can also shop for issues that have already arrived. So if you want to pick up back issues and have them waiting for you, you can do that.
Also, if you're interested at all in either the Ultimate stuff or the Transformer stuff, Free Comic Book Day is coming up on May 4th, and they've both got titles coming out.
Yeah, with new content.
Mhm.
And Spider-Man's got one with new content in it
Yep.
too. So the Spider-Man's issue this week alluded to it. But I'm very excited about the Energon Universe book because
Spoiler alert, someone that they've been teasing a lot is going to be showing up, it looks like.
Yay! Yeah, very cool. Somebody green?
Someone gray.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's Void Rivals that I was thinking.
Yeah, no.
Where the green person's going to show up.
Yeah, so can we just say, since he's on the cover for it?
Yeah, looks like Springer.
Yeah, Springer's going to be showing up, which is like, I love, kind of another thing, I love that they're like also pulling like some of the characters from like a little later in the toy line, like not just all from like the like 83, 84 like launches in that, but like it's like some of the movie characters too. Love that.
Yeah, a couple of those show up in this issue too.
Yeah.
So anyway, we will be back next week, and until then, enjoy the reading.
Bye.